patriot and organising this rally and inviting me to speak. I know it's not an easy thing to organise a public event, but just like to thank my messages by putting on such an important event here.
Hello, everyone. The Brawler and the Brain is back on a new night on Wednesday night, and finally back on YouTube on the Unshackled and Searby YouTube channels, and still on the Hard Knocks D-Live channel as well. We're also back on Entropy as well. I've put the link into the live chat so you can send through a question, or better yet, send through a super chat. That's all the formalities, introduction, housekeeping over, as I call it. Jarrad, how have you been?
Very well, thank you, mate. Yeah, can't complain. Staying busy. I've been at the gym. Yeah, same as usual.
Oh, that's good to hear. I've been better. I'm just a bit sore with the various sort of heavy lifting I've been doing lately. But you know, hey, I shouldn't complain. Just suck it up.
What heavy lifting's that? What you've been training?
Not training, just, yeah, around, as you can see, the studio's taken a lot of modifications, and that's a lot of heavy lifting, moving around, and that, and yeah, when you're not as active as you are, you can, well, you can just get a few aches, let's say.
Yeah, that's well, I once heard someone say that the aches is weakness leaving your body, or softness leaving your body. So that's a good thing. You should try to feel like that more often.
Yeah, that's probably a good philosophy there, because yeah, because when you first train, after a while, you feel really sore, but you eventually get over it as well. Maybe if it just,
yeah, well, if you're not sore a little bit, you're not training hard enough, I don't think. So that depends, especially MMA, we're always injured. I'm never fine. Weights is a little bit different, but definitely at the start, you can expect a bit of soreness, yeah.
Hello to everyone in the respective chats. Crescio has asked, is Tim moving? Well, no, I'm not moving, but well, obviously, you if you're a regular viewer of the show, such as you, Crescio, would know that the studio I'm currently in has had plenty of modifications. So yeah, not just the bits you can see, but the bits you can't see as well.
It's looking good, mate. I like it a lot better now than what it was. Have you moved closer again? Have you moved closer to the wall than you were last time we spoke about?
Not to my knowledge.
No, you seem closer.
We've been away for, what is it, nearly 2 weeks now since we did have 2 shows on D-Live. Our last YouTube show was removed within, well, overnight. We woke up the next morning, had been removed from YouTube.
Yeah, I think that was you spreading some medical misinformation. So we'll try to keep Tim under line. I can't promise to keep him behaving himself. We all know how controversial some of his statements can be, but I will try my best to keep him on the level.
Yes,
important news of the week, man. Let's get to the important news.
Yeah, it's been documented by some people, apparently, all the extreme things that the Unshackled has said, or people it's featured over the years, and the people have been, well, you could say, online stalking me for quite a number of years. Slackbastard and Tom Tanuki. We've talked about Slackbastard before, that alleged anarchist blogger who seems to, he likes the police, but only to go after his political enemies. Tom Tanuki.
Mark Zane, we know who he is. He's been outed. There's a few documentaries coming out. They're in the process. I know a few filmmakers have been working on, so that'll be interesting to see what they come up with. But yeah, Mark, how are you, mate? Glad you're keeping up. I've seen some of your chats today. We've been watching what you're doing.
And Tom Tanuki, I should best describe him as a failed comedian, wannabe journalist and activist. His real name is Thomas Stevens. He projects a tough guy image with his yelling at racist dogs street posse, which he tried to turn into a comedy show at the Melbourne Fringe festival. But his posturing is tough guy persona was quite shattered at the Christmas of 2018, where he and his then girlfriend encountered Bluebeard on the streets of Footscray, and Bluebeard.
I'm just about to ask you about that. Yeah, I haven't heard the story. What happened? What happened?
Yeah, so Bluebeard took Tom Tanuki's glasses off and says, "Hey, you're not so tough now." And Tom Tanuki and his girlfriend said, "Hey, give us it back. It's Christmas. Lay off us." Like, basically saying, show mercy to us, even though we'd never show any mercy to you. Tom Tanuki's then girlfriend kneed Bluebeard in the balls. Then he punched her in the head. She had to get stitches in hospital, but rather than defend his woman, Tom ran away and hid in a liquor shop until the police that he despises arrived. Yeah, hid like a coward. He didn't even defend his woman.
It's funny. I like how they constantly throw up on their channels, all cops are bastards, but they're the first one to ring them when you confront them face to face. I've never rang the police on anybody. So if you want to come talk to me, you can come talk to me. I won't ring the police. I promise. I promise. So we'll see. We'll see. Mark and Tom and people will see him sooner or later. It's, you know, when you put that much negative into the world, it's bound to come back at you. So, you know, I expect them to get their own back.
And the shame was so great for Tom Tanuki. He had to move cities last year. He went to Brisbane, basically. Just I guess he was just too traumatized by his experience here in Melbourne that he fled.
Well, he's not safe with men like Bluebeard getting around, is he? And he's not the only one. There's a lot of people that would like to catch up with people just like Tom. So, you know, I hope he's feeling safe in Queensland. It's a lovely place to holiday. So, you know, they say that the Gold Coast is the place in the sun for shady people. That's where all the knockabouts from Melbourne end up there one way or the other. But yeah, it's you know, it's a wonder he's still writing articles. That sort of, you know.
That's
sort
right.
of usually enough to keep it quiet.
I want to be a journalist. He occasionally writes articles for the Independent Australia and True Crime Weekly, I think it is. Obviously, in the process, degrading significantly the stature of those independent blogs. And I'm not going to share it on the screen because I don't want to give him the publicity. But he wrote an expose on you, and also mentioning his psychoanalysis of myself, which was quite pathetic, I thought.
Yeah, look, yeah, he wrote something that wasn't a whole lot, and I'm sure it didn't get a whole lot of clicks, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Now, even though they online stalk and document our activities, we monitor them as well. And we know that Slackbastard and Tom Tanuki, even though they've been stroking each other's ego this past week and sharing each other's content, they've got a bit of a tense relationship, as has been shown on Twitter in the past.
Yeah. Oh, look, I don't know what goes on. I don't know what they put out as being true and what's not true. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't really know and don't really care. They're both so, you know, they're both so fucking far deluded. It really doesn't matter what they say. They get very little attention, and people like us give them attention. So, like, yeah, it's, you know, we have to sort of acknowledge them, but we shouldn't pay them too much mind. You know, I wouldn't want anybody to click on their articles and read them, or anybody to think that these people have any sort of influence or can create any sort of real, you know, influence in the world or in our lives or anything like that. So, you know, we're better not even giving breath to them. They will be exposed. You know, people that hide behind fake identities and try to call people out, they will be exposed. But as far as giving them airtime, that's not something I want to do. They're both very mediocre journalists. They're obviously not going to grow any more than what they have. They've reached their limit, and they're going hard on us at the moment. They're going hard at me, hard at Tom Sewell, hard at anybody on the right that they don't like, because that's that's going to get them views. They're not getting views any other way. So they can continue to write about us and try to get views because they see that we are sort of creating some sort of difference where we're starting to create a movement that is waking up people all across the right for all sorts of reasons, from vaccines to white replacement. There's a lot of things.
The V word.
Hey?
Don't mention the V word.
Yeah, well, I didn't say anything negative about it. I just said that people are talking about it. So people are, that's going to, they have nothing of any relative, anything relative to say. They have nothing that's important. All they can do is try to critique what other people are doing. So, they're very untalented, uninspired people.
Well, their whole online persona and work is based around the patriot movement and activists, or as they call them, far right extremist experts documenting the movement over the past 5 years since Reclaim Australia. So they wouldn't have anything of note to say if any of us existed, or if none of us existed, they wouldn't have anything of substance to say. It's like they sort of wear the sort of reality TV for them, like as
it's crazy, and the fact that they get
our personal lives and stuff.
The fact they get any sort of recognition or media support, or the fact that the mainstream seems to back them, is ridiculous. Anyway, I've heard Tom Sewell say some pretty radical things, but all in all, Tom's not calling for anything drastic. Tom's not calling for violence against individuals. He's just trying to better his country. He's looking for a better future. People like Blair and Neil and people like this, they're not calling for mass violence on any sort of scale. The left is calling for death to Australia. We posted stickers that they had of the Australian flag burning. They're celebrating the riots in America. They see police headquarters burned down and they celebrate these things. I've heard nobody on the right advocate for any such behaviour. I myself wouldn't advocate for any such behaviour. We need police. Police are vital to protection of civilization, protection of society. Everybody knows this. Yes, sometimes they act outside their jurisdiction, and that's where groups like the Peacemakers come into play. They're there to hold them accountable for their actions, but they're vital. We need the police. To think otherwise is ridiculous. So to say all cops are bastards is fucking crazy. It's not true. A lot of cops are assholes, but not all cops are bastards. So, and like you said with Tom, as soon as something happens, they're the first one to run and ask for help anyway. So, the fact that they get any media support, it fucking disgusts me in itself. The fact that, when people like these posts and like these comments of death to Australia and, fucking police stations burning and stuff like that, how can these people get any support or sympathy? Go Bluebeard, good on him. Good on him for punching his missus in the mouth. I'm sure she deserved it.
Though, say if Bluebeard punched your missus in the mouth, you would no doubt defend her honour, and Bluebeard would soon have a bloodied beard.
Look, Bluebeard knows my wife. My wife and Bluebeard have met, and he would never punch my wife. Saying that, no, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't have a chance. Kate would knock him out before I got there. Kate's she's no pushover. She's been married to me for a long time. So we own kickboxing gyms. She knows how to take care of herself. My daughters know how to take care of themselves. So I think it's important. Every woman knows how to take care of herself. But Bluebeard, he wouldn't do that to my wife. He's a good man.
Now,
but she's a cunt, I'm sure. She's with Tom. She has to be a cunt.
Now, even though the left constantly call for violence and assassination of people that they don't like, don't you know now, Jarrad, that expressing unpopular views and mean words is exactly the same as violence? That's why Neil Erickson yesterday was sentenced to 1 month in prison for disturbing Islamic prayers at Federation Square on April 12th, 2019. This was the original article that I wrote for The Unshackled back then, when I was a much more prolific article writer than I am now. So he was.
This is the big news of the day. This is the important thing.
The magistrate, his name Charlie Rosawodjing. Is that how you say it? Found him.
But is that Jewish? Is that a Jewish name, Tim?
Yes, it's a Jewish name. So he
It's a
Charlie,
Jewish name.
yeah,
There
yeah.
we go.
Charlie found him guilty on April the 1st, 2019. And no, it wasn't an April Fool's Day joke. And originally wanted to put him on a community corrections order, which would basically, he'd have to go through a de-radicalization program, banned from associating with patriots and nationalists. So Neil, in a video that he posted on April 15, said he was going to reject it and was preparing to go to prison on Tuesday, which was May the 11th.
Yeah, and look, this is a very sticky situation. Like Neil, technically by the Constitution, every religious worship is, everybody has the right to religious worship, and that is protected. So technically, he could be classified as guilty there.
Just says that the government can't discriminate against your religion.
No, it says everybody's right to freedom of religion is protected. I spoke to a very good lawyer who told me that Neil was going to be convicted. Me and Neil had this conversation. There's a lot of issues around that, whether the public place can be determined as a bloody a thing. Islam is not a Muhammad. They were talking. Neil wasn't talking about a religion. He was talking about an ideology. He was talking about Muhammad. There was a lot of things. So regardless of whether the law's right or wrong, there, the fact of the matter is that Neil, we all know Neil done nothing wrong. Neil's a fucking, he's a cult hero for what he done.
And the SJWs in the Victoria Police and government, but the fact that this magistrate sentenced him to jail for a non-violent offence, unless saying that Muhammad was a false prophet is, what is that? Words are violent. Like that's
the severity of the decision is that's amazing. They're locking someone up for expressing their freedoms of belief, something that should be something that they could easily give him a $200 fine for and push him away. The CCO that they tried to offer him, the community corrections order that they tried to put him on in the first place, thank God that Neil's a man that has some fucking spine to say no to the ridiculous order they tried to put him on. They tried to put him on basically a community corrections order that involved fucking a communist China de-radicalization program. They wanted to put him on electronic monitoring, so they wanted him to wear an ankle bracelet everywhere he went for 12 months, an ankle bracelet. They wanted him to have supervision, community work. He wasn't allowed to any mosque. He wasn't allowed to associate or talk to anybody who might be construed as a right winger. Now, how would Neil even know who they're going to classify as right wingers? They actually said in their own paperwork. They actually said in the paperwork that Neil wasn't allowed to associate with the UPF. But they weren't sure if the UPF was still around, and that Wikipedia actually said so they had said in the paperwork they weren't sure about the UPF, and that Wikipedia had said that the UPF had disbanded. So they wanted to be able to access his electronic devices at any time. So for the 12 months, they wanted to be able to knock on Neil's door, take all his devices just to audit them to make sure that he hadn't been on any.
Make sure you're not saying anything that we deem extreme,
or communicating with any people that we might deem to be extremists. It was a setup to fail in the first place. They were never going to let Neil succeed on that order. All Neil had to do was talk to his missus, who they could classify as a right winger. Any family member of his they might want to. With me, I've been a friend of his since we were kids. Outside of politics or political views, so, this order they tried to put him on was absolutely fucking horrendous. I've literally known people that have been on fucking orders for armed robbery and really violent drug offences that haven't had as stringent convictions as what they placed on Neil. So, they actually said with the program that they wanted to put him in, the de-radicalisation program, although the order would have went for a year, the actual program for de-radicalisation, they couldn't put a time frame on because they said that everybody was different. This is the NITE, Network for Intervention and Tailored Engagement Program. So they wanted to put him on this program that could have lasted anywhere from months to years until they were satisfied that he was de-radicalised. Now, Neil's no radical. Neil's a normal Aussie bloke that's got a bit of a sense of humour, and he doesn't like the fucking way the world's going. So to label him a violent radical in the first place is a real.
He is, and this is what's got him into trouble. He's a provocateur, a a troll. Like he loves riling people up, and that's what gets so many on the left and in power so agitated and worked up that they slap him with these disturbing religious worship charges which haven't been used for like almost 50 years.
Yeah, look, they're grasping at straws. They're trying to make an example of him, and they're trying to in the process to try to silence anybody else who thinks about doing anything similar. Neil's a shit stirrer and he has a laugh, but he likes to get the conversation going. And there's a conversation. What the fuck were 500 Arabs doing in the middle of Federation Square in Melbourne, fucking praying anyway? 500 of them just there praying. You know, that's enough to make the average fucking Aussie feel uncomfortable as it is. Neil had the balls to walk in there and let him know that he was uncomfortable, and they're going to charge him and try to, and not just charge him, they're sending him to jail for this. You know, they're going to try to send him to jail. Neil's obviously going to appeal this, and he can't talk about that. They tried their hardest to silence this information. They didn't even want this information that we're telling you now getting out. They don't want people to realise how stringent an order they tried to put Neil on. They've silenced Neil from. Neil's not allowed to speak. He's not allowed to tell. You know, he's not allowed to talk about that information. He's not allowed to.
He's gagged, and he can't speak through people on social media or through the media either. So it's illegal basically for anyone to interview him because I should explain because he's appealed the 1 month jail sentence, but they still got him with some bail conditions, gagged from social media until his appeal on June the 11th, and also not allowed within 100 meters of a mosque.
Yeah, and look, I haven't spoke to Neil, but you know, since his court case, but I've spoke to people that he's close to, because you know, me and him, we live a certain distance away. So, but I know exactly the conditions that they've put him on, and you know, the fact they wanted to electrically monitor him for 12 months to know exactly where he went, when he went. You know, these are ridiculous conditions for what he done. You know, trying to put him in a de-radicalization program so he's less nationalistic. He was not allowed to promote nationalism in any way. Now what's wrong with promoting nationalism? Why aren't you allowed to be proud of your country?
Well, this is Magistrate Charlie said in his sentencing remarks that what Neil said, his remarks were offensive in the extreme to those who had gathered to pray, adding that it was Erickson's intended effect. Your actions are racist. Well, Islam is not a race. How can a magistrate say something?
That's right. It's not even a religion. It's not, Muhammad is an ideology. Neil didn't talk about Islam. He talked about Muhammad. He didn't mention Islam. He spoke about Muhammad. So, you know, Muhammad is not a religion. Muhammad is an ideology. You know, and how are they to tell Neil not to be racist? If Neil, you know, we're not in China yet. They're not allowed to control what we think. You know, if Neil wants to be racist,
I'll go on to say what the rest of Magistrate Charlie said. A note it is used for those held by far-right extremists and white supremacists. They have no place in Australian society and are the very antithesis of our values and morals. So basically, the magistrate sentenced Neil to prison for wrong things, saying that you don't have the Australian values that what we've decided Australian values are, so we're going to send you to prison for it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, they're basically, it's the start to them shutting down, like you said, freedom of speech. So technically, you know, Neil may have broken a small law, but the severity and the fucking, you know, the extent they're trying to go to silence him, the order that they tried to get him to agree to in the first place, you know, is ridiculous. Like I said, thank God Neil said no to that, because that would set a precedent for what they want to roll out to everybody else in that position. You know, Neil taking a stand against that at least gets awareness to what they're trying to do, how far they're trying to go. You know, to silence anybody that they can consider as a dissident or on the right. The program that they put him in, this NITE program, is aimed towards right-wing terrorism. It's not for terrorism. It's aimed towards right-wing terrorism.
In the extremism public hearings by that Parliamentary Joint Committee on Security and Intelligence, that Christina Keneally, the Labor senator, basically wants a symbolic watch list of nationalist groups who she believes are against Australian values of multiculturalism and mass immigration. And the Home Affairs Department said, yes, we're going to unleash a lot more propaganda countering countering the far-right extremist message. So we want to promote multiculturalism and mass immigration more.
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. And since when has it been un-Australian to be racist? Really? You know,
we're supposed to have free speech in this country. We don't have free speech protections in Australia, but free speech is a Western democratic value, and it's for all speech, not just not just polite speech. It's for extreme speech as well. Now, on the day of the sentencing, the lamestream media was there. Neil was with Stephanus, Australian Meditations, and David Hiscock of the XYZ. So I'll play Stephanus's video that he uploaded to his channel. Now, this was before Neil was sentenced and then gagged, just for the record.
What's going on, guys? I've been in the courthouse. The media's all out there. 2 cameras on me. So they're obviously getting excited about me possibly going to jail. I'm here with Medi, and I don't know if he wants to be named. Old Dave, man. Hey. It's nice of him to come down, show some support. But yeah, so this all come from an incident that occurred at Federation Square in a public place where I allegedly disturbed a group of worshippers. Now, it's no secret that the Victorian Police have grabbed these charges out the bottom of the barrel, scraped the bottom of the barrel. They've done this with the other charge. That was me and Blair were the first people convicted of inciting religious contempt. So they always throw these old, obscure laws at us because they can't get us on anything. So they just go through the law book and find something that kind of matches. Now today, it's quite obvious I'll be going in jail or prison. I'll get bail appeal. I've got Andy Nolcher's lawyer representing me today, Cara. She's a nice lawyer, so she's going to get bail appeal for me. I probably won't even have to go into the clink. I'll probably sit in the actual courtroom. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to get back to the actual incident at hand. They've convicted me for disturbing a group of worshippers. Now, the disturbing religious worship charge is not what you think it is. It's not about religious freedom. It's not about civil liberties. This charge is actually against that. It's actually a very tyrannical law. It was made in England to make Catholicism illegal, and only those who took the oath to the Queen and the Crown could be protected under this law. So it's not about freedom or religious rights. This is basically a tyrannical law to only protect religions that support the state. So we'll get into that more on appeal, but I'll be appealing, obviously. So I'm going back in now, 11:30 a.m. I'll be sentenced, and it's highly likely prison. Well, he's got the option of doing a fine or prison, because I've said no to the corrections order, but I doubt he's going to do a fine. He wouldn't have put me on a corrections order with strict criteria as such, as I've mentioned before. So we'll see how it goes, guys. Love yous all. Thanks for your support.
There you go. He explained it very well there, and hopefully on appeal, he managed just to get it overturned. And these laws, so when did the White Australia policy at 1973 or something like that?
1967.
These laws were 1967. There you go. These laws weren't set up to protect Islamic speech.
No.
When they're saying this is against Australian culture,
against blasphemy, but. This is the thing, and Neil's explained it in previous videos. It was a law they could use against him in a modern context because they found what he said offensive.
Yeah. Well, that's like Neil said, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to get a conviction. They've been after him for a long time, and they've tried, time and time again ever since he got in trouble for stalking that rabbi, which was another. It was some prank calls which the person on the receiving end didn't think were very amusing. No, and they tried to give him fucking 20 years or something. Then they tried to. Yeah, so they've had Neil on their radar ever since then. All Neil has to do is rock up and approach. nobody in Australia gets police attention at any sort of event like Neil gets. All Neil has to do is rock up and he's, instantly swarmed and dragged away. He may trigger the left more than the average person, but the heavy-handed police tactics that he receives, doesn't justify that. So they've obviously had him on the radar for a long time, and this is their attempt at shutting him down. It's a shame they've managed to silence him for now strictly on bail conditions. If he speaks, they remove his remand.
Victoria Police and courts, they engage in a lot of, de facto punishment through process without actually finding the person guilty. Like with those Freedom anti-lockdown protesters charged with incitement. Like all of their cases are still being adjourned, yet they have these bail conditions where they'll be imprisoned if they go to the CBD.
Yeah, and look, I know crims that have got, like crims that are out on bail constantly. They're constantly coming out of jail, and their trials and stuff are getting put off for 3 years at the moment. 3 years the courts are backlogged. How the fuck did they get Neil in jail so quick? Know what I mean? Everybody else. And
taken 2 years. So this it did drag on for probably longer than if COVID hadn't have hit. But he's still got the other disturbing religious worship trial for going into that gay Christian gathering where they didn't like what he said about them marrying sodomites, and so he's got another that was in May 2019. So that's been going on for 2 years as well. I don't know if he'll get the same punishment for that. Yes,
Well, they're not going to extradite him, so I think Neil just needs to stay out of New South Wales for the moment. But actually, I haven't had a chance to tell Neil this, but I assume he'll get to hear this sooner or later. But my brother's in jail at the moment, as you know, and he's doing some time. And because of COVID, what they're doing with prisoners, so for every 1 day that you do at the moment in jail, they're taking 5 days off your sentence. So for every 5 days, so if you're sentenced to 50 days jail, you only do 10.
Yeah,
so they're taking off. Yeah. They're taking off 5 days for every day. So if Neil would only
they're taking these slashing these prison sentences of actual violent people, killers, armed robbers, pedophiles.
My brother's he's doing he's on his 7th year or something now. So he has a bit of a history, but they're slashing his time by a 5th. So if Neil had went to jail, he would have technically, by the current COVID rules, would have done 4 days jail, and he should have been out. So maybe it's worth going in at the moment with COVID. But that's what they're doing now. I just spoke to my brother a couple of days ago, and because he was looking at another 6 years, and we were told he was looking at another 6 years. He said, "No, look, I'll probably get 2 years, and for every day I do, they're taking a day off. So they're taking 5 days off. So yeah, the prison system's fucked. They're just trying to get as many criminals back out on the street to keep this bullshit going. I suppose why, like you said, why would they let out rapists and fucking violent offenders and armed robbers and stuff just because of COVID? It's not they're in jail anyway.
Margot mentioned the apparent warrants out for Neil's arrest with disturbing the Gosford Anglican Church congregation. Now, Father Rod Bowers, he's that progressive social justice Anglican priest who has all of these SJW signs outside his church. We have National Jones, g'day from formerly Free Canadianistan. Yes, there's been a lot of disturbing religious worship by the local Canadian police with arresting and imprisoning 2 pastors. They're disturbing all sorts of religious worship in Canada under the COVID rules there.
Canada's fucked. I don't know why Canada hasn't had an uprising yet. There, what they've done to the Proud Boys over there, and now with they
re-elected Justin Trudeau for a second term in 2019.
Did they really? I don't know. But wait, whoever from Canada, if you're in Canada, get in touch. Go on to John 8. Look at the Australian peacemakers. I know they're starting. Nick Patterson is starting to help set that up over in New Zealand now. And if you'd like to get involved in something to stand up against your fucking government in Canada, start peacemakers over there. Nick Patterson's very good with the law. I know the laws are very similar in Canada than they are here. We're both Commonwealth countries essentially. So yeah, check out the Australian peacemakers, john8.net. Reach out to Nick Patterson, and I'm sure that he can help you set something up in Canada to start standing against these fucking tyrannical forces that you have got over there, just like we have here.
Now, as we stated at the beginning, the lamestream media were at Neil's sentencing, and this what appeared on 7 News that evening.
A far-right extremist who said he'd be happy to take some time off if he was sent to jail has got his wish. Sentenced to 1 month behind bars after a racist rant at a religious gathering. Neil Erickson was found guilty of willfully disturbing a peaceful Muslim ceremony at Federation Square where he yelled offensive racist remarks over a megaphone.
Muhammad was a false prophet! Muhammad was a false prophet!
The United Patriots Front founder has appealed the sentence.
Neil looked good there. Neil looked good. That was a very good camera angle. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. The other thing he said, apart from, as you saw in that footage, saying Muhammad was a false prophet, was vote Fraser Anning, because it was a month before the federal election, and he was supporting Fraser Anning's Conservative National Party at the time, which didn't do well in the federal election there. But
yeah, did he say white power on the way in too?
No, he did the OK sign.
No, on the way in on the Arab video when he went to the Fed Square.
No, he didn't say white power. No,
I think he said white power when he walked in. Must have been another video. I know Neil said a lot of funny things on video, so I can't remember which one's which.
But yes, that was the 7 News report that night. And every time a patriot appears before a court, there's always the News Corp publications always send their young bimbo reporters who are infected with a fair degree of third wave feminism. So the young female reporter who was sent to do the Herald Sun hit job on Neil was named Ashley Argoon. Now the previous ones who've attended Neil's cases are Anika Simmons of the Herald Sun and also Genevieve Allison. It seems quite deliberate that, I don't know, that do they send these female reporters there because they'll know that they'll write the most emotive article?
I don't know. The worst articles written by me have been by blokes. Most of the journalists I've dealt with, the women have been nicer than the blokes. The blokes have been cunts, to be honest, and they've never they've reported the worst. The women have actually. Well, most of them would have been cunts too. There was one that was nice. There was one that reported quite fairly. She was all right. But the rest of them have been cunts. So I don't think it matters. I think it's going to be, it's going to be negative whether it's a male or female. It doesn't matter.
The reporter at The Australian who's been writing articles about Tom Sewell is also a female, Remy Varga. But I noticed that after Tom responded to her in a few Telegram posts and videos, she's gone quiet and is writing articles about other things. Maybe she thought she could make a name for herself by taking on this extremist neo-Nazi, because this is the other thing. These young reporters always think that they can make a name for themselves by doing these emotive reports on far-right extremists. But I think it looks like in Remy's case, maybe that she bit off more than she could chew.
Well, Tom's very smart. He's been doing this for a long time, and he knows what he's talking about at the moment. His information and what he's talking about, he's very sure of himself. So I don't think they're going to give Tom too much media attention from here on out, because if they do, they're just going to play up his alley. He's a good public speaker. He's very presentable. He looks good on camera. He speaks well. So, you know, anytime they want to have a debate with him, they're going to come off worse. It's like Blair. You know, one of the, you know, I'm very impressed with Blair. One of the most impressive things that Blair's done in my eyes is when he tricked his way onto ABC. That takes some real cunning. The fact that he pretended to be dumb through the whole process to get himself onto the show and then live and then let him have it. Basically, that you know that's a really smart thing to do. And I think you know, obviously Tom and Blair have their problems, but they're the same sort of kettle of fish. They were mates for a long time, and they started this sort of process together. So I think you know, I think any media attention or any reporter that takes on Tom at the moment is going to have a rough time of it.
Iron XXVI mentioned David Hiscock's report commenting on the lying press scrambled to get footage of Eriksson as he entered court. Basically, TV journalists are just empty-headed thoughts. I heard them talking to each other. They were talking about makeup and boyfriends the whole time. And all the cameramen, they're all male as well. They're like the sort of white knights for these female bimbo diva reporters. Because another encounter that Neil had with a female reporter was Jodie Lee for Channel 7 when she was reporting on the car bombing at down Swanson Street. She was doing a report and Neil yelled into the microphone is Islamic terror and went off at him afterwards. And like the white knight cameraman like said, "Hey, you're on TV making a fool of yourself." Like, like you're just there to just hold a camera, be the white knight for an airhead, vain female reporter.
That was another one of Neil's good moments, their fine moments. That was funny. That was a funny. She was shocked, but he was right. She wouldn't call it out as being Islamic terrorism. She, you know, that was the right winger.
These female reporters, when their live cross gets interrupted, they get so triggered. It's, how dare you? Even though I'm in a public space where anyone can walk past, how dare you infringe on my space, even though it's a public space, and humiliate me on national television? What was it? What's his name? Smoking Joe, who's one of the anti-COVID activists in Sydney, ruined a Sunrise reporter's live cross. That was funny.
Yeah, well, these people, they assume that they're you know, they think that they're better than people, or that they deserve some sort of special treatment because they're media. Anybody who has a platform of any size, it doesn't matter if you have 100 people or 1 million people, if you think that you're any better than anybody else because of your platform, you're fucking deluded. You know, having a platform means fuck all. You really, at the end of the day, it's not that big a thing. So, you know, these people expect preferential treatment and that like they're something better than the average person. It's ridiculous. You know, they need their bubble burst. Oh, yeah. That's why when someone like Neil bursts their bubble, it brings them back down. You know, it reminds them that they're just like us. They're right here and they can bleed too.
Well, the government certainly treats them, elevates them more than they would outlets such as the Unshackled and XYZ. And the federal government in their budget last night gave the Australian Associated Press $15 million of free taxpayers' money to help their newswire journalism plays a key piece in democratic infrastructure. They also have a fact-checking unit, AAP Fact Check, which fact-checked an Unshackled article once because we didn't attribute the right quote to Daniel Andrews. Lucas Rosas, one of our contributors, claimed that Dan said protesters against the Bendigo Mosque had no right to protest. Dan didn't say that. He said that bigotry is not an acceptable form of protest. So it was sort of the same thing, but not a direct quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a fact check, and got a fact check pop up on Facebook before you shared it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the fact check, you know, what they call a fact, you know, what they call a fact and what we call a fact are two completely different things. So,
yeah, why do they give us the 15 million?
Yeah, well, that's very unlikely, isn't it? We don't talk about the right thing. Well, they wouldn't give it to me because I'm not, you're the media. I'm just a punch drunk boxer that jumps on the bloody camera every now and then and dribbles a bit of shit. But they're obviously paying people to deliver a message. You don't pay people unless they're providing you a service. They're providing the government a service. They're spreading their propaganda.
Yeah, we saw what happened when Avi Yemeni tried to attend one of Dan Andrews' press conferences. One of Dan's staffers spoke to their security to get him out.
Yeah, that was he's been on the end of lots. He's getting funding from somewhere. I don't know about the one thing that really gets me was the day that they arrested him just to move him on from one protest to another, and he jumped straight in the back of the police car, got his phone out of his pocket, and made a video about how he needed money for bail. For one, he wasn't under arrest; he was just being detained and moved. For two, they don't charge you money they don't charge you bail here in Australia. You don't pay. You get a surety. You pay later if you fuck up. You don't pay them to get out. They don't take your cash. So, Avi's a fucking scammer, man. He's I hate to say it, that's very Jewish behavior, Tim. He started asking for money for nothing. So, it's, Avi's got his own issues.
Well, he gets similar treatment by the Victoria Police. Like, he was detained and moved across town, which is what has happened to Neil on numerous occasions, including on Australia Day in 2019, where Neil stood at the steps of Flinders Street Station with the Australian flag and was moved on.
Yeah, look, they've done it to Neil multiple times. They just do it to Neil just for the fuck of it, I think. They just see him driving down. If Neil was trying to walk and get a hamburger, they'd pick him up and drive him off the other side of the fucking city. They just don't like him. They like I said, they've had their eye on Neil for a long time. So, I definitely wouldn't put Neil and Avi in the same barrel there. And, they've had different treatment for different reasons.
Blair had quite a good summary of Neil's sentencing. He said basically it was a victory for the media because Neil is racist and jail is where white racists belong. It was victory for leftists, especially for the anarcho-communist clan who smashed the state banners, have spent the last few years collecting dust in the cupboards. It was also a weird kind of victory for the martyr for the new generation of internet racists. Meanwhile, amidst the accumulating mouth froth, Neil strolled out on appeal bail a couple of hours later, just another day of Ozpol. Blair's going to be on your Hard Knock show this Friday. He
is, yes. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. It should be good. We got to talk about. That's a fair comment too. It was a victory all round. For the victory for the left, for the right, for the media. It's good for. It's good. I think it's at this stage of the game, it's all about driving up support for nationalism. And Neil's a main vehicle for driving up support for nationalism. Neil is the sort of bloke that everyone can get along. Neil's an Aussie that everyone likes. Tom Sewell said in that video, Neil and Tom have their problems. Tom said that, Neil's one of the hardest people he's ever known to hate. You can't not like Neil. He's a larrikin. He's very easy to like. So, this is great for selling nationalism. This is, people are outraged, as they should be, that they're locking up a fucking white Australian man for speaking out about Arabs in the middle of Fed Square. It's, it's ludicrous. It's we're living in the Truman Show. But, victory all round. Victory all round. Not a victory for Neil so much. Neil's the one who has to do the jail. So I feel sorry for him, and I definitely hope he wins his appeal. But I also know that Neil's not going to lose any sleep over that. Neil, he was very conscious of his decision before he chose to not accept the fucking Chinese-styled fucking re-education program they tried to submit him to. He would have rather done the time. That's a man's decision. Not many men would have made that decision. Most men would have fucking took the ankle bracelet, said goodbye to their friends, and disappeared for a year. But Neil didn't. He wouldn't stop talking to me, you, Blair. He wouldn't. He didn't want to give up his beliefs. He was willing to go to jail to be able to believe what he wants. So, regardless of what anybody says, that's a fucking stand-up move. you know, he could have got the easy way out. He chose not to do that. So respect. And if anybody does not respect that, they can get fucked. Like that's you know, he chose what he believed over what they offered him. That's a strong character.
Now, the fake news wasn't the only body to get a funding boost in the federal budget last night. ASIO did as well. They're getting an extra 1.3 billion over 10 years, a total of 1.9 billion on national security. So, as a lot of people foreshadowed when Mike Burgess made his statement before the parliamentary committee that there will be a terrorist attack in the next 12 months based on our intel, that the government and the opposition will be like, well, we must give them more funding. And again, this is why Slackbastard as an anarchist is such a joke, because he loves ASIO when it goes after people that he doesn't like. But all of this extra funding is expensive. I mean, look at this is the government debt trajectory. It's going to be nearly half of our GDP. It's going to be over $1 trillion Australian dollars. And you know how the government always likes to lecture us about how we should behave ourselves, whether it comes to COVID or other matters. I mean, if a household managed their finances like that, they'd be in big trouble.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. $1 trillion is a ridiculous number. That's, you know, that's debt that we're passing to our kids and our grandkids today. They have absolutely no chance of paying back at all. So, you know, anybody who's sort of putting any stock or fucking hope for the future into fate at the moment, it is crazy. And money's not going to last. The dollar is going to drop. Fucking crypto's, you know, short-term gains maybe. Silver's where it's at. Silver's where you need to put your money. You need to be buying silver. Silver, you know, silver bars, buying in ounces. It's fucking, you know, at the moment you're paying what, $42 delivery with a premium. It's a very safe place to put your money. It's you know, I've got a very good friend of mine who's a very wise man, who I won't talk about because he wouldn't like me to talk about him, but he's you know, he's the one who's been talking to me about this and educating me on it. And Elon Musk is, you know, he's keeping the price, you know, him and others are keeping the price of silver low for a reason. You know, gold and all the, it fluctuates, but the price of silver, you know, they need this to make phones, to make smart cars, to make these things. They need silver. They need the price low. So, you know, buy silver, buy it now. You know, don't keep your money in dollar. It's not gonna last. You know, you need to diversify your portfolio. If anything, make sure you spread your money out. So, have at least some in silver if you don't already.
Now, the federal authorities, they've now got more money to go after patriots and other people who are against the decreed multicultural values and mass immigration. But at least the persecution is going to be more diverse, because the Australian Federal Police have vowed they're going to have a 30% sworn female workforce by 2028. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, I wonder how that 30% of women are going to go once they get to these Islamic fucking conclaves that we have all over the western suburbs of Melbourne, and start trying to arrest Turkish men that are going to fucking, you know, pay them zero fucking attention.
Mm. And did you also know that, well, according to the Victorian Liberal opposition, Dan Andrews, his government has a sexist fire rescue force with only 4.2% of firefighters being women, compared to 8.5% in New South Wales, because no, it's important when there's a bushfire that you've got a diversity of firefighters going into burning buildings to rescue people.
Yeah, look, it's fucking ridiculous. You know, there's obviously a difference in between what I wouldn't want my wife out there fighting fucking fires. It's a dangerous job, you know, and it takes a lot of endurance, a lot of strength. So, there's obviously some things women can't do unless they're fucking trannies, and then maybe they should, maybe they can. But the women, there is roles they don't belong in, and firefighters one of them. Police is one of them too. Let's be honest.
Well, they used to be
Women
called
can work in administration.
firemen. You might remember one of
We shouldn't
the.
have women police officers on the front line, Tim. We shouldn't have like pairs of women officers out there trying to patrol the streets. You know what I mean? They're relying on people being nice to arrest people. That's a woman police officer rocks up to arrest me. She has to hope I'm feeling nice, because if I'm not, she's fucked. You know what I mean? So this is ridiculous. What the fuck are we doing?
You might remember iconic children's show when we were growing up, Fireman Sam. He was called Fireman Sam, and there was not that I can recall any female fire, or there were no fire women. I'm sure that if I looked it up, Fireman Sam would be definitely a sexist stereotype.
That show's still on. I'm pretty sure he has a chick in there now too. Is there?
Okay.
Is there a girl? Yeah, there's a girl now. There's a girl. Yeah, she's got an off kick. Yeah, my kids, they don't watch it because my kids aren't really allowed to watch TV, but it does pop on occasionally.
What was one of the other shows? Postman Pat. He was called Postman Pat.
He's black and white cat, wasn't it?
Yeah,
black and white cat.
Now, obviously, women can deliver male, although there is that debate, like those studies that say that women aren't as good at drivers as men, which obviously Post is, but yeah,
well, they're more likely to get their period and not show up to work too, so you might not get
I'm not sure about that.
No, I might be being a bit mean there, but there are definitely some jobs that they shouldn't be doing. A police officer and frontline police officer and firefighter are probably right up there.
But there's having said that, if a woman is strong enough to be a firefighter or a police officer to get there on merit, and they've got the power to take down someone such as you, then they should be allowed. But there should be no quotas or special consideration.
Look, there's no women that has the ability to take me down. To be honest, they may be one or two in UFC, but very few. Unless they jack me from behind, they're not gonna. It's not gonna happen. It's just not happening.
Oh, who knows what something like that could happen in the future? We'll see.
Well, it'll be a long way, maybe when I'm old with a walking stick. But I intend. Look, I just turned 35. It was my birthday last week. I expect to be able to whoop my kids when they're 30. So I have a kid that's not born yet, a son. He'll be here in 6 weeks, and in 30 years from now, I'm going to still be able to whoop that motherfucker's ass. So, that's the thing about, if you look after yourself, if you train right when you're young, you eat the right food, you do weights, you exercise, you can do this for a long time. So I have every intention to still be, I'll be better, I'll be bigger and stronger when I'm 50 than I am now. With the advance in technology, fucking HGH and testosterone, I will continue to get bigger, faster and stronger for a long time. Yeah.
Well, it's coming up to an hour now. Part of our new Wednesday weekly time slot is that we're just going to go for an hour. We have and changed nights throughout the year, but we're always going to be on a Wednesday now for an hour, 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Victorian time. I'll be back tomorrow night for a Wilmsfront featured interview where I've got returning after a year Max Egan from the Crow House, who, not sure if you've come across him before, but he's basically the Australian Alex Jones, because everyone has called him a conspiracy theorist for years, but he's been proven right over the past year. And not surprisingly, during 2020, YouTube nuked his channel, Facebook nuked his Facebook group. He's still on Odyssey on BitChute. I'm going to be hosting it on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, so it'll be interesting to see if it stays up there. But Max is he's a pleasant bloke. He doesn't have this sort of like angry like persona of Alex Jones, but he's just as passionate.
Well, when is that tomorrow night?
Yeah, 8:30 p.m.
I'll-
on Front Channel.
I'll tune in. I'll tune in and check it out. It'll be interesting to see.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll be back Friday night, 8:30 with Blair Cottrell. So that should be good. Everyone tune in for that. I'll share my links via Telegram. It's the only sort of social media or anything that we do. That's all we do. We don't do anything else.
It's a couple of nights ahead, so yeah, make sure you guys in the chats tune in. Well, Wilms Front tomorrow night, and then Hard Knocks Friday.
Peace.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Organising this rally and inviting me to speak. I know it's not an easy thing to organise a public event, so just like the